Good morning. I'm here at the youth camp in Lake Placid. I haven't gone down there yet because it's early this morning, and I wanted to get my this Granny Shares done before I go down there, because I've got to listen to the children telling me their Bible verses. That's my job. I get to listen to them quoting Bible scriptures, and that's real good, isn't it? I really enjoy doing that. So I'm going to do that this morning and this afternoon. And then tonight there's a service, a real good service, I believe. We had a good one last night, and God blessed. So this morning I'm going to start back on chapter 4 of Genesis. And another sad chapter to me. Yesterday's chapter was sad about Adam and Eve being driven out of the garden. So here's chapter 4, and it starts like this. And Adam knew Eve his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. And she again bare his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. Now, they said that the name Cain meant gotten, and the name Abel meant a feeder. So Abel was a feeder, and Cain was, she got her a man. That's what she said. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. And Abel he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering, but unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. So we don't know about what all Adam and Eve taught their children. I'm sure they told them about the Garden of Eden. Probably told them about having to kill the animals to get them some clothes, some skins for clothes. And somehow they were offering sacrifices to God. So they knew something about giving a sacrifice to God. So I don't know, perhaps that's what they perceived from him killing those animals to cover up their nakedness. So let's just look and see what Cain decided to do. He was a tiller of the ground, a farmer. So he just brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. So Abel brought animal sacrifice, and Cain brought his vegetables and his fruits. So God didn't have respect unto Cain and his offering, but he did have respect unto Abel and to his offering. Well, it makes you wonder how close a communication they had with God. For them to perceive this, for them to understand that God had respect unto Abel's but didn't have respect unto Cain's. Made you wonder if God was still walking with any of them. Made it look like that he was still walking with them and still letting them know how he felt about things, because both Abel and Cain made that offering, and Cain knew that God did not accept his, but both, I believe, Abel and Cain knew that God did accept Abel's. Now, why? Why didn't God accept Cain's offering? And why did he accept Abel's? To me, we read all through the Bible that it's blood. It's the blood that cleanses from all sin and all unrighteousness. And that when he dealt with the whole nation of Israel, he had them to slay animals for a blood covering. And so he had to slay animals to cover Adam and Eve from their nakedness. And so this animal sacrifice was pleasing to God, but it wasn't pleasing to God for him to just give the fruit of the ground. Okay, so Cain perhaps knew that. I don't know, but it seems that he should have known it, maybe because of them sacrificing things to begin with. You know, it seems like they were sacrificing to help cover their sins, cover their nakedness. Somehow Adam understood, or God explained to him, I don't know, but when God saw that Cain's countenance was fallen, in verse 6 it says, "And the Lord said unto Cain, Why art thou wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen?" Now, how did he say it? Where was he? Did he come down and walk with him? I don't know. But it's very evident that these two boys both had communion with God. They talked with God. Abel understood what God wanted, and Cain, though he understood, wanted God to accept what he gave without caring if God wanted it or not. So God asked him, "Why art thou wroth? Why are you mad? And why is thy countenance fallen? Why are you so upset? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted?" I believe the Lord expected him to know that the sacrifice that God wanted was not his fruit, not his vegetables, but he wanted an animal sacrifice just like Abel had given. And of course, Cain could have traded Abel some fruits and vegetables for an animal to sacrifice if he didn't have an animal. You know, they didn't eat these animals right at this time. They, because as we go on, we find out that they didn't. And when we read about Noah, we find out that they didn't. And after the flood is when they began to eat the flesh of animals. So they still ate what Cain was growing. And of course, Abel, his flock, of course, he would get milk from his flock and wool from his flock. So it was good for him to have them. But when Abel offered the respected sacrifice, then Cain could see what God wanted and do it. But he was angry. And verse 7 says, "If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door." So, in other words, you would be accepted if you would just go to Abel and trade some of your vegetables for a part of it, a sheep from his flock, and sacrifice that to me. You will be accepted. You know, this pride that Cain had, it was like, "I'm a tiller of the ground. You should take what I give, just like you take what Abel gives. You should do that." But God couldn't. God couldn't do that, because he was going to teach us throughout the Bible that it takes blood to cleanse away sin. Finally, he was going to teach us through his son dying on the cross, and that blood was absolutely necessary. Abel didn't understand. Abel did understand, and Cain did not understand that this was something that God could not waver from. If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted, and if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. You are letting sin in. You're letting sin in. If you're not going to do well, you're letting sin come into you, and you're a sinner. You can't be cleansed. You can't be cleansed from sin. You can't. The blood can't cover your sin. It's just lying there, right there at your door, and it's going to take you over. And he said, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. So it seems to me, and this is one of the hardest scriptures for me to understand, much less explain, which I'm trying to share what I know, but sometimes I don't know a lot about certain scriptures. But all I can say about this scripture is, and you may put it in the comments, what you know. I mean, somebody may be listening out there that's a Bible scholar, above all Bible scholars, and you might say what this means and what God has revealed it to you. But I feel like that God has revealed to me, the best that I know, is that when you're angry with someone that's righteous, that he will try to win you back. Unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. You're going to be in charge. You're going to be bigger. You can accept his desire, or you can completely reject his desire to be a brother to you. You can be that. You can do that. Because that's the way it's going to be if you're going to be like this, Cain. If you're going to be like this, Abel will want you to accept him, want you to do right, and he'll try to get you to do right, but you're going to rule over him. And you have the opportunity. Cain was the older brother. You have the opportunity to work with him, or you can do what you will. And Cain talked with Abel, his brother. What do you think they talked about? The sacrifices and God accepting Abel and not accepting Cain? Probably. And probably Abel was talking to him and said, I'll give you one of my sheep. Won't you sacrifice that? God will accept that. And the more he talked, it seemed like the madder Cain got about it. And it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him. This is the first murder. It's the first two boys, the first two brothers. And Cain murdered his brother because he was so angry about the sacrifice. And the Lord said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? You know, we look back and we see him asking Adam, Adam, where art thou? When Adam sinned, God was questioning him. Where are you? And now, when Abel sinned, or Cain sinned against Abel, his brother, he's asking him, where is Abel? Well, Abel was in the field. He was slain. And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? The name Abel meant a feeder. Abel would have fed Cain and helped him, would have shown him the right way. But instead, Cain ruled over him and killed him. Now he's asking God, am I my brother's keeper? And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. I just wish I could picture this, but I don't know how. Sometimes I picture it God speaking from the sky to him, or God speaking in his mind to him, or God walking with him like he did Adam and Eve in the garden. I don't know. It seems in the Old Testament that God spoke so clearly to people, where they were just having a conversation with him. And it seems like in this day and time that the enemy well wants to have a conversation with you and pretends to be God sometimes. So it's not as easy to hear from God as clearly as they did. So I'm not sure how God was speaking to him, from where, in what way he was speaking to him, in his ears or in his mind. I don't know, but he was able to talk to Cain very clearly. And Cain had to listen, didn't he? And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. The Lord knew about blood. Abel knew about blood because he sacrificed the animals. But from what it looks like, this is the first of Cain knowing about blood, and he sacrificed his own brother. Not for God, not to God, but to his anger, to his wrath. His brother's blood was crying unto God from the ground. And now thou art cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. And Cain said unto the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. It's funny how sometimes people yield to their passions, anger, and yield to doing something they know is wrong to do. Even at this stage in human development, where people are just learning about being a human on this earth. I mean, these are the first two boys. He knew he shouldn't kill his brother. He knew God well enough to know he shouldn't kill his brother. He knew his brother. But he yielded to his passion. And that's when God told him what was going to happen to him, he said, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Just realize that God is always willing to listen, to help you, to give you some kind of peace in the midst of your strife. And go to him. If you're a person that's prone to anger and prone to wrath, instead of yielding to that wrath and that anger, go to God and let him help you. Well, I'm going to go. I'll come back on this. We'll get back on Cain tomorrow. God bless you.